Well, good morning. How are you all today? And welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. I want to talk about separating from the system and why I think it's important that if you're not separated from it totally, you get started at it right now, pretty quick. Before we get, oh, by the way, if you hear that noise behind me, that's my neighbor mowing his lawn. Saturday in America, right? It doesn't bother me. I hope it doesn't bother you. It's just life. Luckily, I have youngins to mow. Actually, I have to mow a section of mine later today, and I've got to trim some trees. But that's all right. It's gonna be a 107 today. It's not bad now. It's in the 70s. It's gonna be 107, and then tomorrow it goes down to 106, and then 105, a cooling spell, and then back up to 107. We're gonna have a whole week well over the 100 here, so I'm gonna have to get out and get all the tomatoes picked that are close to being ready, because that'll just kill those. And hey, whatever. We roll with the punches, right? We deal with the day that we have, and every day is a good day. Before we get started, a reminder that this and all my videos are brought to you by the Stonemont series, my books: The Reversion, the Revival, the Renewal, and Appeal to Heaven, the Blessings of Freedom and Hostages to Fortune, the Complete Guide to Preparing for, Surviving, and Rebuilding After a Total Collapse, and an excellent guide on how to separate from the system. Those are available both through Amazon, and the link is down below, or through directly from me through my website, stonemont.us. If you're a Stonemonter, you know what it's all about. If you're not, you ought to be one, because you'll enjoy it. You'll learn a lot, and you'll get a lot out of it. Stonemont.us. You can order the books from me. I'm happy to. I love autographing the books and writing a little something in there for everybody who orders directly from me. There's a place on the order, whatever, that asks, "What would you like Steve to write?" And I'm just happy as can be to do that. So that's that. Before we get started, and occasionally I'll have somebody, for you newer people, occasionally I have somebody come by and say, "You spent the first 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever minutes, talking about things that weren't your subject." And the thing is that we're a community here, and we're a nice community, and we just have the greatest subscribers here, and even more exceptional on the Patreon channel. And we're a community, and so we have a lot of things going on. I talk about different things, and I'm interested in what my subscribers do, and they're interested in what I have to share. So if that's not for you, no hard feelings. Probably this channel isn't for you, and you're not for us. So let's part ways as friends, and that's just what it's about. But before I get started, I want to share with you an extremely special gift that one of our patrons sent me. I went to the post office yesterday, pick up stuff, mail stuff, mail out a lot of books and t-shirts and things like that. There was a key in my mailbox, and I went and opened the locker, and this was it. Some of you know that I'm going to be putting up a patch wall, a patch display in my new office. Sometime ago, a couple of years ago, somebody sent me a patch from their department, law enforcement department, and then other people started too, and I said, wow, thank you. I'm going to, when I get a chance, put these together in a patch display, because that's the thing in law enforcement. And I had other people, well, how about a fire department one? Yeah, you bet. How about a hospital, a paramedic? Yeah, you bet. Somebody asked me, how about military? Some of my military patches. I said, you bet. As far as I'm concerned, the brotherhood and sisterhood of people who run towards the problem, we're all pretty much part of the same cloth. We may be a different stripe, but we are part of the same cloth. And so I got something. And some of you, all of you on Patreon, if you're not on Patreon, the link is down below. You should be. All of you on Patreon know Hondo Bob, right? He is the one who made those beautiful lanterns that are always behind me in my videos when I shoot inside. And if you're not on Patreon and you're on YouTube, you've probably heard me mention Hondo Bob. He had a long career with the government. He retired from the Army, in which he had great number of assignments. And then he remained as a civilian employee with the government for, I think he retired from that too. Anyway, the guy he's one of our, subject experts. I mean, he puts stuff up there that I don't begin to understand on EMP and ham and radio communications and all, and I love that stuff. Even if I don't understand it, I love it because it makes me feel smart reading it, And so he had sent me those some time ago. Well, I just got this. This came from Hondo. First off, buddy, I can't thank you enough. But I'm going to share with everybody. So if this isn't for you, be gone. Okay? We're sharing part of our community here. And he sent me all these patches. I'm going to show them to you in a minute. All these patches from his military service. And he wrote me a little note. I won't read all of it because some of it's personal. He said, I'd like to send you a set of my old Army unit patches and badges. Since they typically do not specifically identify the unit, I took the liberty of mounting them on labeled index cards, which I also annotated with locations where I served with each. I matched the full color dress uniform version and subdued OD version of each patch where possible. I hope the OD patch versions of my qualification badges will suffice because the actual badges are really far too bulky. LOL. It's just there are volumes of stories behind each one of these. I can imagine that, and I'm grateful they will now have a good home with you. What an honor to receive these. What an honor to receive these. Let me show you a little bit. Yeah. Don't worry, we're going to get to why you need to separate from the system pretty quick. Okay, here we have an air crewman badge, parachutist badge, and drill sergeant badge. You see that? Am I holding it right? Here we have the Republic of Korea, the RROK Ranger badge, and the German Armed Forces Proficiency badge. Here we have 18th Airborne Corps, 327th Signal Battalion, 35th Signal Group, when he was at Fort Bragg. Allied Forces Central Europe, and I can pronounce Maastricht, Netherlands, and Brunsum, Netherlands. There's something on there I can't pronounce. I don't know. Allied Forces Central Europe. Okay. U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command at 3rd Military Intelligence Battalion, Aerial Exploitation, Camp Humphreys, Korea. So when you guys see something that Hondo Bob puts up there, you can go, instead of going, well, who's this Hondo Bob? Well, you're starting to get an idea who Hondo Bob is. U.S. Army Material Command, Intelligence Material Management Center, Vent Hill Farms Station, Virginia. 2nd Squadron, 2nd Armored Cav Regiment, Desert Shield, Desert Storm. 10th Combat Aviation Brigade, 10th Mountain Division, Operation Restore Hope, Somalia. 513th Military Intelligence Brigade, Military Intelligence Battalion, Low Intensity, Honduras, Panama, Colombia. I had a lot of friends who served down there in Honduras, Panama, Colombia, and Salvador in the 80s. U.S. Army Intelligence Center and School, Fort Devens, Fort Huachuca. If those aren't cool, I mean, that's Hondo. I can't thank you enough. Those are going to get pride of place when I put together and they're going to push me hard to get that. I'm going to have to get a bigger board than I thought. Okay. Any of you guys out there would like to send me a patch, you bet I'd love to have it, and I'll give it to you. But this is just exceptional. And not only can I not thank Hondo enough for sending these, I am truly honored. I truly am honored. And but it shows you what kind of community we have on the Patreon channel. And if you're not with us, I wish you would come. It's only $1 a month, and I put the link down below. If you want to come up to the second level, the Stonemont, that's where I'm reading an audible of well, right now I'm in the middle of reading the first book of the series, the Stonemont series, The Reversion. And it's turning out well. I'm enjoying reading it, and people are enjoying hearing it. And if you come to the Stonemont level over there, $5 a month, you get full access to all of the audibles. So there you go. Okay, let me have a sip, and then I'm going to talk about the main subject of today, and that is separate from the system. I was going through today's news feed, and something jumped out at me. You know, I go through several aggregators, and you know as well as I do, if you follow several, that each of them has a bent. And, you know, Drudge has definitely a bent one way. Breitbart's pretty, you know, but they have a bent too. And then, what's the other one? Liberty Daily. They have it. That's where I find a lot of crazy stuff, right? Well, I find some crazy stuff on Drudge too. But I noticed, but not all of their stuff is crazy. And not everybody who is made out to be crazy is crazy, because they're made out to be that way from the system, and we know what the system is all about, right? Most of them think we're crazy. Well, there was one up there from Alex Jones. I don't regularly watch Jones. It's not that I don't like him, he's just not on my list of people that I normally watch. I have a basic set of people that I check in on every day, and he's not one of them. Although I like him, I think he's done great work over the years. He has nailed stuff far before others have. He was made out to be crazy, and then came back to show that no, he wasn't crazy. He knew what he was. He had his teeth into something that the rest of us just didn't yet, right? And so I have found that he is one worth listening to. Besides that, his fame and his bulldoggedness has put him in a place to where many people who know things will get a hold of him. Now, since we're talking about intelligence with Hondo Bob, there anybody who's been in intelligence, and I have, knows that you always want to sift information through, you know, the agenda of the source, right? So, you know, but Jones is not a stupid guy. He knows this stuff. He's also in show business, but for the most part, he has been pretty much down the line, right on top of things all these years. Well, he said that he got a call from a guy that he knew with a TSA. And I'm going to put the link to the video that he put up over on the Patreon channel. Whenever I put, you know, something up, sound like an ambulance, okay? Whenever I put something up on the Patreon channel, I will put the link to the article so that the patrons can go down and check the original source. So he said he got a call from a TSA guy that he knew, and TSA said, hey, we just had a meeting and it told us that we're going to have to be masked again starting in September. And then in October, they're going to require everybody traveling to be masked. And then November is going to go up another tick, and by December, I think I've got this timeline right. It doesn't really matter here. Go over and check that because it doesn't matter according to what I'm going to say in a minute. And then by December, I think he said, they are looking to have full, you know, that thing, right? I don't even know if I can say it on here yet or not. You know that thing that we all had to mask up for? They're going to have full lockdown restrictions again starting in December. So he said he called a couple of guys that he knew and other federal agencies. The first guy didn't answer the phone. The second guy did. And he ran this by. And the guy said, when did you say that guy had that meeting? And he told him, he says, yeah, we had a meeting about that too. And as far as I can see, that's exactly what is coming down the road. Okay. Many of you remember that time. Okay. Many of you remember, most of you remember probably, the destruction that the lockdowns had on people. Now, it had more destruction, it destroyed more than it did others, and the reason that it destroyed more than others, well, it had to do with the degree to which they were prepared to live separate from the system, right? Okay. Many of you know that Kelly and I lost our jobs, very good jobs, at a hospital because we refused to take the you-know-what. They were amazed that they were so surprised. They couldn't believe that we would give up our jobs because it was major moolah. We lost a bunch. I mean, if I put it all together, well, I don't know. I wouldn't even want to say, but it's way north of $100,000 a year and much more. And they couldn't believe, because this is how they were hammering people. This is how they were making them behave and and obey, because the risk of losing their job, the risk of losing their ability to provide for themselves and their families is what drove so many people to do what they were told. Well, Kelly and I, we said no. And I told them from the very beginning when it came out. I told the people above me, I told it clear up to the CEO whenever I'd happened to see him in the hallway. I said, so, I hear you guys are getting ready to, and I was kind of like that. I had a reputation for that. I'm not impressed with authority, never have been. And, it's, everybody knows it. I deal with everybody. I don't care if they're above me, below me, on the, they're not above me or below me as far as a person. They're above me or below me according to the little rank structure whatever organization has. I was never impressed with colonels and whatever, or police chiefs or sheriffs or generals or anything like that. Because it doesn't take long if you look hard enough to see all their cracks, And so when I'd see the CEO, who I knew, actually I knew him somewhat socially too. I said, so I hear you guys are getting ready to fire everybody who won't take these things, and it made him really uncomfortable. Well, I just think this is the best thing and the best thing about the way, blah 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 blah. Well, of course, what we didn't know at the time was that they were getting huge benefits from it. What's the word I'm looking for? Bonuses. Huge bonuses. If they got X percent of their people, you know what it, right? I mean, these bonuses, some of them were in the millions, okay? So for a person who operates on money instead of conviction, well, it was a no-brainer. That's why so many of them went along. Well, Kelly and I didn't go along with it, and I saw from the inside. I was there, I was still, they didn't get rid of me until pretty much the whole thing was over with, And I mean, I came because I was in the security department. I was the one, I fought people with COVID in the ER, and I hauled, I don't know how many dead bodies I hauled down to the morgue. I never got it until I left, but, and even then I didn't take what they said I should. I took what they said I shouldn't take and got better right away, right? But I saw the horror, the horrendous things they did to people. They locked everything down. They would not let loved ones in to be with dying patients. Older patients, younger patients died alone in horrible suffering. Alone. Their family not able to come into them, not able to be with them, because the powers that be said, no, that's against our policy. And you give a marginal person a little rank and a policy to enforce, and you have about the most evil thing you can get. And that's the truth. And I won't go into detail about this, but here's the thing. You know how many businesses they destroyed. They locked them down. You know how many people, as a result of the businesses being locked down, lost their lives lost their life savings, their family businesses. In addition to that, how many people lost their jobs? In addition to all the people who, from larger areas, the vast majority of people went along. Okay, and so they saw that and it really increased their feeling that they could do whatever they wanted to. So when Kelly and I said, "Up yours," they couldn't believe it. Well, of course, what allowed me to do that was that I had already provided ways to provide for my family separate from that job. That job, as good as it was, really had become a second job that I just stayed on because the money was big and easy, and the bennies were great, right? But I didn't need it. I had been separate from the system once before. When I left, and I've talked about this, why I left government work, because I saw inside the monster and I saw the true corruption of it. And I saw there was nothing that they wouldn't do to exert control over the people. And that so many of them, not all of them, there are some good people in government work. There are some good people in law enforcement. There are good people in every situation. But there are also others who just love the power that they get from the system. And I was so disgusted in the 80s, I separated myself from the system pretty much completely for almost 20 years. And I was able to do it very successfully. Now, I was able to do it successfully because I was single. I didn't have a family to support, right? So it was a lot easier. And I won't go into detail how I did that. But then in the early 2000s, I met Kelly, and we got married. And I said, you know what? In order for me to have any kind of normal life, I need to get back into the system. But I'm going to do it carefully. They're never going to own me. I will go back into the system and use the system for my own purposes. So I did. Kelly and I had a number of businesses together. We threw newspapers. We did other things. We had a tanning salon. We did so many things you can't believe. I mean, when we look back on it, we can't even remember all the different income streams we developed. And it's just like a river. Once you get enough streams coming in at you, you can't see what I'm doing out here with my fingers. I get in. Once you have enough streams coming in, they make a river. And we did so many things, and we did very, very well. While all the time keeping ourselves pretty much separate from the system, and keeping ourselves, because we had so many different income streams, we kept ourselves separate from the control of anybody for whom we worked. At any moment, we could tell anybody, "Up yours, I'm gone," which meant that we called the tune of what we did, even in that job. We would tell them, hey, they might come and say, well, we want you to do something, and if we didn't think, if we thought, well, that's stupid, I'm not going to go out of my way to do that, we'd say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Well, but you have to. It's not in my contract. I'll do what's in my contract. Well, but you have to. No. And there's no more power that you can have than over someone than when you don't need them. And they needed us a lot more than we needed them. Well, then in 2008, the big crash came. Business started getting a lot worse for the tanning salon. We lost a lot of contracts. I mean, we lost $80,000-$90,000 a year in contracts for newspaper delivery. I know a lot of people will be surprised that there's that kind of money in newspaper delivery. Maybe some of you won't be. When I was a district manager for the Kansas City Star, I had carriers working for me that made over $200,000 a year. That's right. These were guys that knew, and they were pretty much living outside the system. They didn't have anybody over their heads. They picked up their papers at midnight. They had a roller. They went out and they drove around, listened to the radio. They had a guy behind them rolling up papers. They threw stuff out the window, had a nice relaxing time. 5 o'clock they were done. They went home and they slept. That's what they did. What a great gig. Now those gigs aren't around anymore, but there are other things you can make yourself. Okay, so we got hit really hard. We got hit really hard in 2008. We didn't lose the business. We were able to sell it because it had been doing very well for a couple of years. Of course, it was going down. We ended up selling it, but we were all of a sudden looking at living on about 20% of what we'd been making. Now we had put that extra to good use, so we had prepared to weather the storm, right? That's when I went and started working for the hospital, and again using that system, not going in and being a cog for them, but using that system for my purposes. And then when I say, and I never, whenever they would tell me that they wanted me to do something was silly, I simply say no, that's stupid. And because I had the experience and the age and the background that they didn't mess with me, and so in that I was fortunate. And Kelly has the same personality pretty much that I do. Hey, whatever, I'm going to do the job you hired me for. I'm not going to dance in that stupid little dance you want everybody dancing to, because that ain't the job. So anyway, all of that was just to tell you that I know what it's like to rebuild from nothing. And since that time, not only did I go to the hospital, that's when I started the Christmas light business. That's when I started the landscape lighting business. Those just grew and grew and grew. That's when, after a few years later, it was in 2015, I started writing the books. Some years after that, I started the YouTube channel and the Patreon channels, and I started Integrative Preparedness. I started the shooting school, the Preparedness school, and all. I know a lot of you don't know about those things. It's not important because I don't do them. I don't travel to do those things. It's just for people around here, and a pretty select people, to be honest. And I developed all these things that, and I can't go into detail on exactly how they're all structured, but let me just put it this way. They are structured in such a way that I am just about as separate from the system as a person can possibly be. And there will be some that will say, but you're not separate from the system because you still use electricity and you're still on your phone and you still have, all these kinds of things. Yes, I do. Because just like back then, I am right now using the system for what it has to make my life better and easier while that system is available. But I'm using that and increasing my ability to live without that system. Okay, so that when the whole system crashes, or when the system simply wants to engulf me, I can say, no, I don't need you. I don't need your system. It's kind of like, everybody lives where they want to, and I always get this question, why do you live in the suburbs? Because the suburbs have things that I like to access. I don't want to drive 45 minutes to access the things that I enjoy accessing. Simple as that. Do I need those things? No, I don't need those things. But I enjoy them at the time. Okay. We love going to Andy's Custard. Okay. I don't want to drive 45 minutes to go to Andy's Custard. I drive 5 minutes. Just little things like that. And everybody has a different way, but I'm just using that as my explanation of how I use the system while the system is available, without letting the system dictate to me what I have to do. Does that make sense? I hope that's making sense to some people. And I hope that, and we have people on here, and especially over on Patreon, who have already done this. They are at the end of the road. They're not just far down the road. They're at the end of the road. They have arrived. They have built their self-sufficiency. And if you're not on Patreon, I would encourage you to come over there. You will find a community that you can learn so much from. These are people who have done it, and they are more than willing to share all of their experience. We just have brilliant people over there. Hondo Bob being one, Triple G being another, Tom Usher another, Mike Hoskins, Kevin Altapeter, all these people, and there are so many more. I won't go on because I'm afraid I would leave out some, and I'd probably leave out a bunch. We just have so many people. Every time I put up a video over there, you can read their comments of what they've done, what they suggest, what their experience has been, and then you go to the member posts area, and they have more sections of technical advice and things like this that help everybody to be prepared. And that's what we're preparing for, to prepare to live separate from the system. Now, if Alex Jones, what he passed on, is true, and I'm not saying that it is, but I'm going on the assumption that it is, because if you go on the assumption that it is, without being all afraid and fear and everything, oh no, if you just say, okay, this might happen, and you prepare for that, you're going to be in good shape if it happens. And you're going to be in good shape if it doesn't happen. If you say, well, I don't believe that stuff, I don't know about that, I don't know about, well, okay. If it doesn't happen, good. If it does happen, you're screwed. Okay. So, today, I want to encourage everybody. Prepare to live separate from the system. Whether that means that the system separated you out and said, sorry, we're closing down your business again. Everybody who doesn't do whatever can't work. Everybody who doesn't do whatever, your kids can't go to school. Okay. So whether they try to separate you out, and by that forcing you to stay in the system, or whether you have prepared yourself to the point to where you can separate yourself from the system, your ability to live well separate from the system is imperative. Okay? You know how we always say, we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. Okay? You know what those people who thought it was going to destroy me to lose for Kelly and I to lose their jobs over at the hospital, you know what they saw, and you know what shocked them? It didn't affect us a bit. As a matter of fact, we live better now than we did before. It's about planning. It's about preparation. Right? Okay.